Evening, y'all. Shout out to Freedom Inc. And everybody. When it comes to, well, let me preface this. I haven't been dedicating as much time as I would have liked to this researching this information, but what I've come across within the last 6 months explains a lot about what most people would call with disdain the sovereign citizen movement, um, which even I said was an oxymoron for a long time, because how can you be a sovereign and a citizen at the same time? But in reality, under multiple avenues, there is actually a method to the madness. Couple of things. Sorry, I got dogs. We'll kick you all out in a minute. Chill. When it comes to the whole situation, always be wary of verbiage. Your words are power. Now, touching on this, from what I've realized, I'm going to just do a short video tonight because there's a lot more to this, and I'm going to give you a couple of channels to go check out. But in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, it states, if I can pull this up here real quick. All right. One of the things in Article 1, Section 10 states that no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin to tender of payments of debts, pass any bills of attainder, ex post facto law, or law of impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant titles of nobility. But the impairing the obligations of contracts, this is a big avenue to it all. There's a couple of things that I've learned that you need to, unfortunately, it just dumps into a whole new realm of research. And I'm going to recommend AM's Jurisprudence, Volume 16. Read it. Read it all. This is where you're going to start seeing how traveling with property is a constitutionally protected right. Traveling with your automobile, this is kind of where it all sets up into that an automobile is one of the methods of conveyance through AM jurisprudence, and you have the right to own property, and to tax a right is unlawful, not illegal. It's unlawful unless you contract into the driver's license, the social contract. This kind of is a blanket setup. There's some Supreme Court cases that I'm going to have to go ahead and get to show you. I mean, obviously we have Marbury versus Madison, which states that very clearly that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And then you're going to get into a whole nother realm of definitions on what a person is and what an individual is, and the list goes on and on. I don't know if I've said this before, but from what I understand, there was an actual dictionary that the Founding Fathers stated was to be used when defining words out of the Constitution. And that is a Bouvier's Law Dictionary. I believe it is the 1870s version, which is where you're going to find the word income has a different definition than what you're going to find necessarily in the tax code or in Black's Law Dictionary. Income, and again, I'm going to preface all of this with you're going to have to research all this stuff. The way they get most of us on income in these days, and this isn't all of it, but when you enter into the fractional reserve banking system, which is any bank or credit union that operates under federally insured tactics, they are a commercial business, and technically because they are a licensed commercial business, they file under a different set of laws that technically, if you are operating as the living man, you cannot contract with them. And this is where your social security number, your driver's license, your all capitals name comes into play. It is a fictitious legal entity operating and contracting with a fictitious legal entity, which is legal because you have the right to contract as you so please, and Congress shall make, and no state shall make any laws abrogating that. The power to legislate is the power to destroy. And where rights are concerned, there can be no lawmaking or abrogation of them. I could go off in the weeds on this one for a while. There's a couple of channels that I'm going to tell you to look up, and they really kind of boosted me into this. One is Freedom Unchained channel. You're going to want to look at the George Gordon series. Their school still operates today, and they actually, I have yet to partake in it, but they have a great system and way of doing things, if you ask me. They really kind of broke it down for me just into watching the video. They have hours of video content. It's mostly all audio, but it's great. You're going to want to get a Bouvier's Law Dictionary. You're going to want to get a American Legal Quotations book. And you're going to want to go to archive.net or org. And you're going to want to get AM Jurisprudence Volume 16. And just start with that one. That's kind of the most popular one. I think there's over 40 volumes. But that's the one you're going to want to get on and start rocking out. There's also Carl Miller. Just hit him in the YouTubes. There's a 3-part video series where he kind of gives you, those are going to be some of the Supreme Court case documents that you're going to want to start immersing yourself in, because you got to read this stuff. And you got to know it. You're also going to want to go ahead and get a hold of your state's constitution, as well as your rules of evidence and everything that pertains to your state in particular. It's a lot of work, I'm not going to lie, but there is a way to do things. Now, this is also where the community end of it comes in. In the Constitution, where they talk about the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended. Well, the writ of habeas corpus is a big one. You're going to want to look up the writs. I think there's 7 of them in total. The writ of habeas corpus, in a nutshell, is pretty much if you have been locked up without being proven of said crime, you're going to want somebody on the outside, if you don't already have one filled out, to fill out a writ of habeas corpus and get that turned into the court system ASAP, so that from what I understand, say it happens over the weekend, I understand that apparently they run the writs of habeas corpus first thing. And these municipal courts that you're normally dealing with are all administrative. They're not even constitutionally sound, I guess. I'm using that lightly. They're legal, but they're not lawful. And this is where you get into an argument of jurisdiction and all this other stuff. But also, there's a guy, I believe his name is Anthony Fagioli or Fagiolo. Last name Faggiolo, I believe it is. He's actually pretty big here in Pennsylvania, and he's been going to court over the property taxes. And apparently there's nuances state to state, but the thought process kind of runs across all states. Obviously, you can't tax a right? We have a right to property. Well, they're pretty much saying in regards to Anthony is that when you're not generating income off of the property and you don't run a licensed business off of the property, there's no basis for an assessment value. And he states that, at least here in Pennsylvania, that most of the assessments that are actually done are actually illegal. They're not even real assessments, because that would require a physical person to come out to each and every property, square footage, what's on there, do this, do that, blah 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 blah, and supposedly the argument is that most of these assessors just kind of go off of a Zillow statement and they kind of run with it, and that's a guy I would definitely recommend go check out. He's also talks regularly with a guy out of Louisiana, and their arguments actually tie in a lot with the stuff that I've been learning. I by no means have it all figured out, and this is why I'm going to say that I would highly recommend to look this stuff up and to start immersing yourself in it, because that's kind of where the 14th Amendment comes in, where you've got you're gonna be where they can't hold you at a different standard. Like your rights are still your rights. And I'll go into 14th. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and the states wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges. There's other aspects of this, but the privileges or immunities of citizens in the United States. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor to deny any person within his jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Now, that's just section 1. What happens is the equal protection end of it actually kind of takes these two systems, these two court systems that are operating to this day, where most everybody is already operating off of a commercial contract because of various reasons, shit that they were just, myself included, just pretty much brought up to say, well, you can't go around without a driver's license, registration, and insurance, or stuff like that. But in all reality, they can't prevent you, not that they're not going to try, but they can't prevent you from traveling with your property, because, we have a right to travel. We have a right to work and make a living for ourselves. And a direct tax on either of those things is still unlawful unless we contract into these things. Now, I know it kind of sounds like it's a bunch of getting off in the weeds and stuff, but I highly recommend to just look this stuff up because there is relevance in what they're saying. Um, ah, um, so I'll try and make some more videos on this. I will try and make some more videos on this soon. I'm still trying to get certain things sorted out with it because it's a lot. It is a lot, and they don't figure that you're gonna go ahead and put the work in and do the research and actually take it to court. And this is why you can't have a lawyer do it for you. You have to be your own counsel or have counsel of next best friend. That is not an attorney, and this is where the bar comes into play because the courts will use the bar card against the lawyers to get them to toe the line for the benefit, because it is a business. It's a revenue generating business. It is licensed, it is commercial, and therefore it can't be sovereign over your rights. So sorry, I hope this isn't too all over the place for you. In the end, Ames Jurisprudence Volume 16. There's an A and there's a B. Just focus on A for right now. Get your state constitution. Check out Freedom Unchained channel and his series on George Gordon. George Gordon was doing this for a long time, and believe me, the guy, I've already spoke with his widow. There's some savvy individuals. George Gordon is now deceased, but also Anthony Fagioli or Fagiola or whatever. I'm not exactly. I'll check that out. But he's based out here in Pennsylvania. But I'm pretty sure if you get into YouTube, it should bring it up because their main thing right now is discussing the property taxes and stuff like that. And they're doing it without even going through the elimination of the Social Security number or any of these other previous contracts that we may have already been engaged in, whether through our ignorance or that of our parents. So I'll try and bring more on this, but time is difficult. So sorry this video has gone on for almost friggin' 20 minutes. But if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them. Throw it in the comments. I hope you're all doing well. Oh yeah, and the Bouvier's Law Dictionary of the 1870. That's the one you wanna get. You may even be able to find it on archive. So with that, cheers, y'all. Stay up. And, yeah, that's not over. Have a good one.